Look, I mean, there's so much in this book that resonates with me. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of yours from back in the day. In fact, I have to say, and I know you don't want to talk about the young ones very much.
I don't mind talking about them.
Much.
It's just... I have to tell everyone this. The young ones took up 14 weeks of my life. There were 2 series, 7 weeks each, and a kind of weeks pre-filming. And that was my involvement. I know it's huge. I know even in my psyche it's huge, but it is still only 14 weeks.
Yeah.
And so it's like 0.1% of my life so far. So it is kind of sometimes hard to deal with.
I can see that.
I'm a huge fan of pythons, of the goons. I understand what it is. I'm Bonzo Dog Doodah Band. I mean, I can obsess about that, and I know that only really existed for 3 years. Of a proper kind of work.
Yeah, it's but I think it's for my generation, because in those days comedies didn't come along very, very often, right? For younger people.
Yeah.
And I think for I was maybe 14 or something when that came. It was so influential on me. That Kevin Turvey and the stuff, the Green Door, all that stuff, and the comic strip as well, of course. So influential.
I think it was the first sitcom to absolutely try to make 4 completely unlikable bastards.
Yes.
Because it was kind of up against things like The Good Life and Terry and June. And so that was the kind of reason for it. I remember people saying, let's have 4 completely horrible characters and not have any kind of pity for them. And of course we failed absolutely because everybody loves them. My mum made toilet roll holders out of them. It's knitted version of Vivian. It's covering a toilet roll. That's what happened.
But I wanted to say as well, I think you are so amazing in that sitcom, and I'm not sure whether you got even the credit you did, but I was watching it again, and your performance is absolutely, I mean, it's bonkers, but it's so committed. It's such a brilliant portrayal of that character.
I think most of us didn't really know what we were doing, so commitment was the only thing we had. I think that's true of the entire oeuvre that I had with Rick.
Yes.
Is that we used to say it ourselves. We used to say it's absolute bollocks at 100 miles an hour. Because it's only the commitment that's funny.
Yeah.
Jokes are kind of rather hard, aren't they?
Yeah.
The jokes you get in a cracker, the jokes that comedians were telling on the telly when we started sort of getting together. There was a show called Comedians. Anyone old enough to watch the Comedians? People in Dickie Bows, and they would all tell sort of vaguely racist and mother-in-law type jokes that anyone could tell.
Yeah,
they're all a thing. You could put it in a cracker. Anyone could tell them. So we sort of made things that no one else could do, just because it was about going. I remember we used to be. Where are we? Leicester Square. I don't know which way I came in. The comic strip club used to have a sort of solid brick wall at the back. And I came on one day, and we came on as the Dangerous Brothers, and I headbutted the wall. And it got a laugh because people could hear that it was a brick wall. So I did it again. And I just used to hit my head against the wall because that's what people found funny. I mean, it's not a joke. It's about being stupid.
But then that's interesting in the book you talk about Rick getting kind of generally bleeding, right, blood pouring down his face, and the audience then suddenly not finding it funny, even though that's what they
we did a gig at Sheffield City Hall, and when we used to do the live show at Bottom, it was always kind of difficult to get the angles right for the fights, because on telly you can play with camera angles. But, we're here on the stage, and if I try to hit Richard there, you can see the gap. So you have to get close. And I was swinging a big metal jug, a bit like that.
Yeah.
One of those things you get in school. 2-pint metal jug with a rim on it. Why the fuck has it got a rim on it? And I just sort of went like that, close to his face, and it just opened up a huge seam. And he was a very sweaty performer. I don't know if anyone ever saw a Bottom show. He was always wringing wet after, the first 5 minutes. And it just poured out of him. It was like watching a gargoyle. Hieronymus Bosch, that sort of stuff. I was really laughing. It was so funny, but the audience went deadly quiet. And he was looking around like this, and he didn't know he was bleeding. He was always wet, so he couldn't feel it. And eventually I sort of pointed out, and his white shirt was now crimson. And we had to stop and get him stitched up. I remember him turning to the audience saying, "It's all right. It's funny. You've paid money to come and see us beat the shit out of each other. And here it is, he's finally done it, and you're not laughing."
There's a very thin line between...
Yeah.
Because you banging your head against a brick wall just because it doesn't cause blood is still pretty brutal.
Yeah.
And that's still funny.
I used to come on and bang my head into the microphone. That was always fun.
Yes.
Which would be on a stand. Rick would say, "I am Richard Dangerous, and this is Sir Adrian Dangerous." And I'd run forward and nut the microphone. And it would generally go out of the stand and into the crowd, and which was fun. And until we played Leeds City Varieties, where they had a particular kind of microphone which had a kind of strange metal bit on the outside in the shape of an arrow. And I headbutted that, and it was just stuck in my head.
Well, I love the commitment. I think it's very of its time, that show, and I think you watched one back when you wrote the book, and having never watched them, and it's sort of weird. It isn't something I really want to return to, but it's such a cherished
I think memories
thing.
of things are always much better than the actual things, aren't they?
It sometimes are, but it was so important at the time, and I think it was. And there's so many comedians of my vintage. For them, it showed. I think just because it was like...
Showed that idiots could get on the telly.
Idiots could do it. You could do it. But it showed it wasn't, because it was, you felt like, oh, how'd you get on TV? How'd you become a comedian? I knew I wanted to be in that world, I think. But just thought, this is possible. These guys have just somehow got on TV and and can do anything they want. And it's better than anything else on the television. But I want to tell you how much it meant to me, because I never met Rick, but I once stood behind him at the BP garage in Shepherd's Bush Green, and I didn't say anything to him.
Yeah.
And
did he let one off?
Pardon?
No.
And I just really regret not just saying thank you for all the stuff. So I'd like to thank you, and I'm sure everyone else.
That's very kind of you.
Thank
you very much.
For those fantastic times. But and it was so influential, and all the other stuff you did then, and again, looking through your CV, it's incredible all the stuff you've achieved. The book is, there's so much that resonated with me. There were so many similarities. Weirdly, I mean, it's a very important, I think, social document about the 1960s and boarding schools and the way adults used to be able to punch children in the face. And that
not quite punching in the face, but beating with sticks on a regular basis.
Yeah, and
it's a bizarre existence.
So I mean, there's a lot of sort of. It's a very positive book, but I think, and you're very honest all the way through. But this, I've talked to a few guests about this, but that boarding school experience is horrific, sending kids away, and it obviously...
I think, there's a lot of... everyone knows the nastiness about boarding schools of that era, the kind of constant beatings and vague sexual perversions. But I think the most telling part of it is just a complete lack of love. Yeah. From your parents and from the whole institution.
Yes.
So you end up with all the cunts who are in the Tories. Who are damaged.
Yes.
They're all incredibly damaged.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I feel sorry for them. I do, because they're people who haven't been loved enough.
Yeah.
You know.
But then that's happened to you as well, and you've taken that.
There are choices you can make.
You've taken it in a different direction, and the book is about love, and the book is about the power. You know, I think it's understatedly so, but it's about the power of retribution and meeting Jennifer and that turning you around as well. It was sort of doubly weird for me because the school you went to was Pocklington Public School. At the same time, my dad was a teacher at Pocklington Public School, and I was living in Pocklington. And I was reading the book, and you were going through the various teachers who abused you. At every page, thinking, "Oh God, what am I going to find out?"
No, he was very gentle. He always said please.
But luckily, I don't think you.
No,
had any,
our paths didn't cross.
No, there we go. But weirdly, at some point in Pocklington in the late '60s, we would have.
For 2 years, we were in the same building.
You were in the same building as my dad, and I'd have been in a pram, and you'd have walked past me buying some cigarettes.
Yeah.
So that's a weird little coincidence as well. But it's. I think it's really important, that part of the book, and I think it's so well described. So I hope that feels like that should be preserved. As you know, there's real.
Do you know there's a since I brought it out, there's I mean, that's not been the spur, but people have got in touch with me, and there's a lot of people who've been through exactly the same thing. You know, especially my age, it's quite nice that people kind of... Louis de Bernier got in touch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he started collecting stories of people, because he was badly beaten up as well.
Right.
And he just sort of started collecting a file. I mean, most of these teachers are dying or dead. My school got hold of this, and the headmaster wrote to me. I saw the postmark on the envelope. I thought, oh, fuck. He's going to call me in and I'm going to get 6. But he was sort of apologising vaguely and saying it was nothing like that anymore. And would I like to go back and look at it? And I thought about it, and I wrote back and I said, I'll come back if dead. And that's the truth.
Right.
Isn't that the sad truth?
Yeah.
I don't want to be anywhere in a room with that bloke.
Right.
In fact, you have to cut that name out, otherwise I'll get done.
We will.
I'll just bleep it. You all know it, don't you?
But it shows how much of an influence that had on your whole life.
Yeah.
And it could, as you say, it could have been worse. You could have become the Tory Prime Minister.
Yeah.
I quite like you smashing your head into a wall. Vote for me or I'll break my head open.
He had much the same kind of attitude.
Yes,
Complete bollocks at 100 miles an hour.